And good afternoon, everyone, and welcome, welcome, welcome. It is Tuesday. It is a very special time of 3 p.m. ET, and we are so thrilled to have you here on Crime Time. I'm your host, PHILLIPPI RYAN, the USA Today bestselling novelist of 16 going on 17 novels of suspense. My current novel is All This Could Be Yours, which just won the Mary Higgins Clark Award. Hooray. And my brand new novel coming out September 1st, Mother, Daughter, Sister, Stranger. Now, here's a secret for you. Look at a close-up of the gorgeous cover of this book, and look whose name is right there, front and center. My darling, brilliant, iconic, perfect Lisa Scottoline. We are so happy that you are here today. Let me show the fabulous fans your book. This is just out. This changes everything. An instant USA Today bestseller, you all. And it is twisty, so twisty, and so good, and so suspenseful, and so touching, and big, and important, and life-changing, and actually inspirational. I have to say, I don't know how
you're very kind.
Be inspirational, but it definitely is. You're on book tour, Lisa. Thank you for being here.
I am, and I love talking to you, and I love even more reading you. So I'm very, very happy to have my blurb on your cover, as we say. It's really a wonderful, wonderful book. Everything you write is wonderful.
Well, I feel the same way about you. You know, it was interesting. I have bookshelves all over the house, and I bet you do too, seeing from behind you.
This is only my signed collection.
That's impressive.
I know.
I went upstairs to my special collections room, if you can call it that, and I noticed I had a whole shelf of Lisa Scottoline, just every book. And it kind of touched me to see that, how long we've known each other when we didn't even know each other. You know, that I just knew you from your books. And
yes,
that's great. So book tour for you, book tour. How has it been? I love
it. I'm a fan. I'm a people person stuck in an author's job. I love this job. It's a blessing and all that good stuff. But I feel like a puppy in a crate most of the year. And so when it's tour, I'm like, and I just get to see everyone. I hug people. I behave inappropriately. And but mostly I'm just grateful to have readers. As you know, it's really you wrote a whole novel about book tour that was so wonderful and also scary. But it's dream come true time, honestly. You see materially, people read you. And I'm still, after 40 books, so happy people read me that it's the best.
It is interesting, though, to watch your book tour from afar. And I see Emily is here, and Sherry and Susie Baldwin. They're all saying love, love, love.
Yay!
Sherry is here. So great. Emily and Karen Ross is here. But seeing the pictures that are posted of your book tour on social media, I have never seen so many people in my life.
You're too kind. Well, it's so fun. Technology is so great, and social media has its downside. But I've been in communication with those readers. My social media is only me. So when I take that picture and then I see the picture, I see the people, I remember them from the signing line. It's just a very cool thing to have your whole, I think privacy is kind of overrated. I have my life's out there, man. Especially honestly, if you write a novel, to me, this novel in particular is there's an emotional truth to it that if you're going to lay it bare, that's the most intimate part of you. And I think we novelists have to put that stuff on the line to write about the themes that we write about, love and death, and especially in crime fiction, which I think of as justice fiction. These are issues that are from the heart, and people have real strong opinions about them. So we got to just be open. We got to be open-hearted.
I mean, this book is so purely relatable and touching and thought-provoking. We'll talk in a minute about the themes of friendship and loyalty and family and trust and grief and who we are as women. And also one of the things I love about your books is that, and we'll talk about this later too, is that it always seems like you're a secret friend to the reader. There's a message of inspiration and encouragement that comes through in your books. Do you think about that, or does that just come out?
No, I just think I need it so desperately that I probably write what I need to hear to a little bit. I think I don't have an outline. People say, do you know how it ends? I don't even know how it middles.
Yes.
Great. I just go to the Hemingway school, write drunk, edit sober. I mean, I don't write drunk, but I just try to tell the story to myself.
Yeah.
And so a little bit, you're finding out what these characters are going to be, who they are, what they do. and plot and all that stuff becomes revealed to you. So it's really something that involves the heart and mind and soul all of a piece. That's at least what I've started to understand.
It's interesting too, because I write the same way.
Yay.
I think as a lawyer, you're a lawyer. I'm a reporter, and what we are is out in search of the story and in search of the truth. And we don't know it when we start. We can't know it.
Right. That's insightful. I think there's a truth to that. You know, with the way this book starts, it's two friends are on FaceTime. I got the idea because I talk to my daughter on FaceTime a lot, and she was in New York. And so I since I'm a mom, I'm always thinking, and also a lawyer, I'm always thinking, what if some bad guy like got her on Face? Like I saw the thing about technology, it enables you to be in real time with someone, and sometimes that can be intrusive. So what happens is, here's a best friend calls another best friend from Tuscany to Pennsylvania. The best friend named Courtney is going to visit her grandmother at her grandmother's farm in Pennsylvania. When she walks in, the grandmother is murdered on the floor. The killer's running out the back door. It's just the most horrific, grief-stricken, shocking scene. And then at the end of the chapter, the Courtney says to her best friend, Julia, come home. Now, that's the idea I had. So then I'm like, okay, what would logically happen next? What are these characters going to do?
Let me interrupt you then. So
go right ahead.
What would logically happen next? And we're going to talk about that in 1 minute. Lisa Scottoline with This Changes Everything. That's the suspense part, you see. That's the suspense part. Let me welcome you all to Crime Time on A Mighty Blaze. Let me quickly remind you that Crime Time and A Mighty Blaze were founded 6 years ago at the beginning of the pandemic by the marvelous powerhouse duo of Jenna Blum and Caroline Levitt to keep us talking about books, to keep us reading books, to keep us in a community of readers and writers, and keep us discovering new books and discovering new authors and saying hello to our favorite authors as well. And we've been going strong for 6 years. Let me also remind you two more things. One is we're giving away a copy of this book, This Changes Everything. Well, we're not giving away a copy of it. Lisa's publisher is giving away a copy of it because I'm keeping this one. I'm totally. You can have your own. You all can have your own copy. And let me tell you a little bit quickly about Lisa Scottoline, as if you all didn't already know. Lisa Scottoline is the #1 best-selling and Edgar-winning author of 38. It says 38 here, but is it really 40?
I think it's like, yeah, it's something like that.
Of 40 million novels. She is the president of Mystery Writers of America and has been named a thriller master by international thriller writers. That is as good as it gets. That is the highest level.
I Can Die Happy. You can watch in real time.
In a long time. A former trial lawyer, she graduated from the University of Pennsylvania and its law school, where she taught justice and fiction, a course she developed. Lisa also co-wrote a series of humorous memoir with her daughter, Francesca Saratella, who is a novelist as well in her own right. I'm not exaggerating here, and there are probably more even as I say this, there are 30 million copies of Lisa's books in print. Many of them are upstairs in my house, and she is published in 35 countries, and she lives in Pennsylvania. So finally, Lisa, let's talk about this book.
Okay.
This is a really big, important book. It's a thriller. It's a conspiracy thriller about history. And at the core of it, it is a personal story of an amazing woman's journey to empowerment and understanding of herself and her life and family. You were talking about, so she gets the phone call, Courtney and Julia, goes to Pennsylvania. What happens next?
Well, it really ends up being the story of two friends solving the murder of a grandmother. And I kind of got the idea for it partly from this FaceTime issue, but it was really much more that for some reason, my mother has passed away. And I have my daughter, now a novelist. By the way, can I just say this is her book now in paperback, Full Bloom. It's wonderful. And her first novel was nominated as Best Debut by International Thriller Writers. So I'm very proud of her. But she, I'm a single mother. She's a single daughter. We had my mother, and there's probably not a day goes by that we don't reference my mother in some way, not in a sad way, but in a happy way. And I started to think about more and more that we all know, I think, that grandparents love their grandchildren. But I really wanted to write a story that had to do with how much a grandchild loves its grandparent. That this is a daughter who maybe doesn't have that great a relationship with her mom, but is tight with her grandmother. And so when this happens, it's the worst thing she can absolutely imagine. and she isn't going to stop at nothing. Like you said, you know, you're trying to find the truth of what happens. It starts as a very personal story, as I think good novels should, whether they're thrillers or whatever. It's a story about something that happens to a person. But as it goes on, when I was writing it, I found that these women are in a very difficult place. Geographically, they're in a real town in Pennsylvania. It's called Centralia, that actually is a product of, there's an underground mine fire that has been burning in Centralia, which is 2 hours from my house, since 1960. If you can imagine that. And it is destroying town after town after town. And when you talk to the people there, which I did for research in this book, you find that the reason, and my research, my study, of course, I always turn to books, that the fire wasn't put out because of government malfeasance. At the local level, at the state level, and at the federal level. They screwed up, they were incompetent, and there was issues of corruption as well. And all of these people lost their homes and their hometown. And they're angry. And because you want to look at what's the source of violence? Can be aggrievement. It can be a feeling of injustice. Mm-hmm. And so that's what these women find themselves up against in this town. Courtney is biracial, so she's dealing with those issues as well. And it ends up, I think, opens up, without giving any spoilers away, into a pretty big story that surprised even me. Like the surprise ending, I was very surprised. I was like, which isn't really much a recommendation, but it's probably proof of a God that looks after authors who don't outline.
Yes, and
right?
Very grateful to her for that.
Yes, perfect. And so,
well, so you were talking about that Julia, and we met Julia in The Unraveling of Julia, the first novel about her. But I insist, I mean, I know that this is called a sequel or a duopoly, but I think they're completely separate. I think.
Thank you. I don't call it a sequel because, listen, I wrote Rosado and D'Annunzio. By the way, Benny Rosado's in this book.
I know, we'll talk about that.
Okay. But I know how to make a series that you don't have to read the previous books. And it's a personal matter. It's a point of pride with me because I don't want anybody to have to study for me. You know, you don't have to do anything. There's no entry barrier. We're done studying. We got our grades. I still have those dreams and I don't want them anymore. So you don't have to read the previous novel. It's all in this one.
That's so funny. I have that dream too.
Right? I have that dream. I'm like, oh my God, the exam's tomorrow. How did I go?
Why didn't I go? I can't find the room.
Oh, wow.
You would think we would have outgrown that dream.
No, we're never going to outgrow it.
Oh, well, whatever. It brings us together. And speaking of which, but Julia now is married and she lives in Italy, and more on that in a minute. But Julia comes to the aid of her friend. And it's such a marvelous story about female friendship and empowerment and loyalty. Talk a little bit about why those themes are important to you and how those play into the story.
Well, I think it's in my own life. I mean, I'm divorced twice and I'm very lucky in many ways in my life. But when things have gone in a crapper, you know who's there for me always? My girlfriends. Mm-hmm. And now that I'm getting older, we all look at each other and we're like, we've been friends for like 30 years. We've been friends. I have friends for 40 years old. I have high school friends and I'm still tight with them. And so I've started to understand what a gift that is in my life. And frankly, you know, I started writing because I really wanted to see more women in the lead in crime fiction. Like we were still pouring coffee, particularly in legal thrillers. And as a lawyer, I was like, this is bull. I've stood in front of a jury. I know how to do that. Let's show the world that women can do that. But vis-a-vis friends, I started to understand that in my life to a certain extent. I have other responsibilities, work, or my daughter, anything that will come up, I say to my friend, well, can we cancel because I got to do this? And that's the other thing about friends. We all get that. Nobody gets mad. We all understand. Oh, somebody's sick. Oh, your dog's sick. Oh, whatever. And then I said to myself, stop doing that. Like your whole point is to put women first. Why are you putting your friends second? But in a way, right? We do that. We have responsibilities. And
that's what this book is about too, isn't it?
Yes.
Julia figuring that out.
Yes, because I figured it out. So my characters figure it out. And I think, like everything, what you're saying, you figure it out partly through writing. You go, wow. And there's stresses and strains in adult friendship sometimes. Julia's an interesting character as a main character because she had a lot of dislocation. She is adopted, but she had a wonderful adoptive experience, less so when she finds her birth mother. And also she's living in Tuscany, but she's really American. And then she found out that she's Italian by blood. So she's trying to integrate her personality and her life with a new baby, with a totally hot Italian new husband, which I made up from fantasizing. I didn't even try to imagine a sex scene for this book, although I have in the past. I can't remember. In any event, and so she's got to integrate. How do I keep my family happy back in Italy, even though I have to be here for my friend? This is the biggest trial of her life.
I mean, it's so perfect how you did this, because
thank you.
Every one of us has these roles that we play, whether it's as a friend or a wife or a mother or as a professional. And how do we decide who we're going to be at a certain time? And that theme is throughout this book. And you sort of guide us through that. And Julia does too. And Courtney.
Yeah, Julia's got to figure it out. And I realized it when I was writing it. I said, well, wait a minute, she can't turn her back. She's a wonderful mother. She's not used to being apart from her daughter. That was very much me. I was there and I loved it. I became an author to stay home with my daughter. And so this character is going to figure it out in real time and have the struggle in real time. And I hope that it's relatable.
It is. It's completely relatable. You took the words out of my mouth. It's completely relatable because it's a juggle for an author to give a child to a main character.
Yes, it is. Thank you. I want extra credit for that.
Well, I mean, you have some great line in the book, which is something like, you can't just leave a kid simmering like a bolognese sauce.
Yeah, the husband says that, right.
You have to take care of them. And how does Julia make that choice? It was a risk.
No, you're very kind to say that. And it's interesting because I have these younger friends in the book, but I also have these older friends, because when you think about that grandmother, she's much more me. She has friends of 30 and 40 years standings. And when 50, they're retired teachers, just like she was. And because I wanted to give some love to teachers who don't get enough love or pay. And then when, of course, she's murdered, their world is rocked. Like, you want to talk about this changes everything? So in a way, it was sort of interesting, two sets of friends at different generations. And to a certain extent, Julia and Courtney a little bit underestimate these women. As I have learned, maybe this is what happens when you get older, you decide, hey, I'm stronger than you think. But you see the strength in women and what we endure and go through as we get older, and how we still say the rock and glue the family together, and all these dopey analogies that only begin to convey how we are the heartbeat. And so Julia and Courtney have to come to terms a little with these older friends, and together as a foursome, they have to get justice for someone they love very much when institutions fail them.
And that takes them to scary places that they never could have predicted. There's so much, you have them explore so much history in this book, which is gorgeous and seamless and fascinating.
Oh, that's very kind of you.
Irresistible. Talk a little bit about that, where this takes place. And
you're such a genius to pick that out, because you can't, when you're writing something you have an interest or your characters do, or you're trying to develop it in a thriller, everything has to work for you. You can't have a block of, I always think of Moby Dick. Here's the whaling implements. Okay, maybe he did know what he was doing, but it didn't really, as Elmore Leonard said, he leaves out the parts that people skip. So I can never have a part that people skip. Everything has to be synthesized. So a little bit the history flows throughout. So it's not only the history of Centralia, which is essentially modern history, like I was telling you, this horrible ecological disaster that deforms the land and changes the life of everybody. But it's also the history of these people. At one point, one of the retired teachers says, she's a history teacher. She says, I think people underestimate old people, or they stop seeing us because we're history and nobody knows enough about history, or they're taught history in a boring way, and we're living history. Our references are old, and so they turn away. And I think that's kind of true. So I've written historical thrillers in my time, Eternal and Loyalty. I love history. It's illustrative. It's the story of us, just older us.
And you have so cleverly taken contemporary characters and made them pretend to be historical characters, And that's part of the clues, which leads us to why they're doing
Hank
that.
figures it all out. Hank figured it all out. I thought
I think This Changes Everything by Lisa Scottoline, which is turny and twisty and fabulous. It's also has a special element to it in that Julia, our lovely main character, our intrepid, loyal, good main character who we adore from moment one, may or may not have some kind of or not psychic or not power. And I think about this all the time. Sometimes I call it intuition. Sometimes I think it is something that's that I don't understand. Talk a little bit about Julia and her potential psychic power and why you decided to put that in a book.
Well, one of the things is I've always written about women and power. And what is the source of our power? Sometimes it's our strength, our resilience. Sometimes it's our determination. Once Mary D'Annunzio said something like, someone quoted it back to me, which was very nice on tour. And she said, I can't be brave, but I can be determined. And I thought that's in my first divorce. I was like, I don't feel brave, but I can be determined. And I think when we think about the powers that aren't necessarily apparent to us, that are more like intuition. We used to call it female intuition. And I think that's a bit of a superpower. My mother had a little of that. And I think all of us do, because frankly, we're always trying to make everybody happy. So we do kind of a little codependency scan. Are they happy? Is this person happy? When we can walk into a room, everybody has walked into a room and known if people were having a fight in it. Or you give a party, or I've been the person fighting in the car. It's a horrible marriage, right? And you come into a room and you're like, I can't hide this. Women will know this. Men might too. So Julia sometimes gets little glimmers of things. And frankly, she doesn't really want that power, because when it comes to a murder, there's a little stress and strain in her friendship, right? Courtney's like, wait, are you like clairvoyant? Can you figure this out? Who's the bad guy? Who killed my grandmother? And Julia wants so much to help her friend, but she's not sure she has that power. And she's not sure she wants it to surface. She wants to be normal. And I wanted to have that little push and pull of, normalcy can be, is a double-sided coin. It can be great because you fit right in. And it can also be terrible because you fit right in. Because what makes you unique? And what makes your voice unique, or your soul unique, right?
And yes, what makes your voice unique and what makes your soul unique. And that is another thing that Julia and Courtney are figuring out too in this book. And also Gianluca, her husband, is figuring out what makes him be him. She has taught him who he is a little bit, and the daughter too. Talk about that.
Thank you.
Talk about that in a minute. But it's a risk, Lisa, to put somebody who might be psychic in the book. There is the thing that you just hit out of the ballpark, among other things, is that there's no like, oh, I just thought of this, so it must be the solution. That book would be over in 2 seconds if she really. So it has to be this quiet little voice that sometimes appears that she doesn't trust, and you handle that. So has this happened to you ever?
Oh yeah. I mean, I could tell you stories, but I think the larger point that you just put your finger on so beautifully is, if I were going to say what I was trying to convey, as they say in Book of Mormon, what was God going for, which is such a great show. It's really more that little voice in us. If you ask me this is me being your old Italian lady right now, but what is the source of your power is that little voice. And I think women, whether it's, gee, that guy's a little strange, I'm going to cross the street, or I don't really like that dress that is on sale, so I'm not going to buy it. Whatever the thing is, I think sometimes we women, if I can say, because I have ovaries, I'm sure it happens to guys too, but we suppress that voice, or we ignore it, or we invalidate it, and we dismiss it. And Julia has done that her whole life to kind of people please for a father who wasn't very loving, but a mother who was. So she negotiates her family life that way. And I think a lot of us do that. I'll speak for me. I've done that. So Lisa, don't say yes when you want to say no. That's something that rubber meets the road on that. Do you want that? Do you want that cover? Do you want that sweater? No, I actually don't. Do you want Chinese for dinner? No, I kind of am sick of it. Whatever the thing is your little friggin' voice. That's a South Philly term, so work with me. It's okay to say, because that's the real you, and that's authenticity. And I think there's a real honesty in that. When you can do that as a character or as a person, I think it becomes a very relatable struggle. Because even if you get it figured out, then 5 years later, you forgot that, or you made the same mistake, or you went out with that guy and you knew he was a wrong number, or you married that guy even despite your misgivings. Why are you doing so many things despite your misgivings? I feel it when I write sometimes. I'll delete stuff, and I have a wonderful editor, and she'll say, why did you take that out? That was really good. Now I finally learned the stuff that I used to delete is the good stuff.
Oh, that's a problem for
I wanted to be normal, but I was really taking myself out of the equation.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that makes this book so relatable. It is so human. And we understand Julia and we understand Courtney. And with the psychic element of it, one of the things that's just so cool, and this is not giving anything away, is that the psychicness of someone else is also pivotal in this book. She just doesn't call it that. And I think that's so nice and so gentle and so subtle.
Thank you.
Because we've all said, like, I don't like that thing.
I don't like that.
Let's not go there. But I think that's great.
But usually it's a friend that will tell you that. And it kind of dovetails. So a friend will go, I don't know, honey. And that's all you need. Somebody to go, I don't know, honey.
And you should accept that at all turns. We can tell you that. I wouldn't have brought this up except that it's on the back. It's on the back cover because it was a surprise to me. I guess I didn't read the back cover. But when Benny Rosato shows up in this book, I just gasped out loud.
You're so nice.
Such a rock star. Tell a little bit about who Benny is and why you decided to bring her back.
I loved writing about Benny. I've written 17 books in Rosato and D'Annunzio, and I've kind of missed them a lot. And I started writing historical thrillers, psychological thrillers, domestic thrillers. So thanks to my readers who have been so indulgent and supported me through them. But all this time, I'm like, when are you going to get back to Rosato? And a lot of people write that. So when I was writing this book, these girls Julia and Courtney get themselves in so deep that they need a lawyer bad. And I was about to invent one. I said, wait a minute, they don't live that far. That's who you wrote The Best Lawyer in Philadelphia. Let her get in the action. And it was so great to get her there that what I'm going to do is the next novel is a domestic thriller like What Happened to the Bennetts and the Truth About the Devlins. And it's called The Fall of the LaFleurs. But the one after that is going to be Rosato and D'Annunzio, full strength. I'm bringing them back. It's a 4-woman law firm. But it's not about lawyers per se, and I could never convince anybody of that. They call them legal thrillers, so I gave up. But it's really just about 4 women and their friendships and finding their power and justice. It's the same thing I write no matter what.
Yes, and that's the DNA of a Lisa Scottoline book, is women finding power and justice. No matter what the story is, that's what underlies all of it. That search for justice seems such an important passion of yours.
Well, it is. And I think I love it because you don't need to be a lawyer to go, well, what's just in this situation? Because it's such a malleable issue. And it's also something that you and I have been writing for a while. If you look at the beginning in I started in 1994, crime solution was the exclusive domain of law enforcement. Mm-hmm. And that's not true anymore. Now we have citizen detectives. We have people crowdsourcing crime. We have all kinds of situations where a mother will get justice for her child who maybe the police can't get to it through budget issues or malfeasance. Horribly, I hate to bring it up, but I always think of Uvalde and that horrible school shooting where they wouldn't let the parents in the building, but one woman got in, one mother. Do you remember that story? And she got out. She got her daughter out and her son out in different classrooms. That woman is my hero. I always think to myself, wow, yes, Julia, an ordinary person can get justice.
And I love how you did that for Julia in this book too. If you just joined us, we're talking about This Changes Everything by Lisa Scottoline. We'll take your questions in just a minute. Julie Brinkley is here. Melanie Borelli says normal is overrated. Susie Baldwin says hi. Sherry Rosen says we second guess ourselves sometimes. That is true. Your books are so fast paced, though. There is something that happens on every page. They're absolutely page turners. This is
thank you.
Going to make you miss your stop on the bus. Let me just tell you that you will just want to be reading one more chapter. How top of mind for you is, it's not only the relatable story, and it's not only the empowerment of women, and it's not only how much we love Julia, but it's also like, wow, this is a great story. Talk a little about that.
Well, thank you. I think something like pacing is really in the editing, because since I don't have that outline, I try to forgive myself a little, like Anne Lamott says, write a shitty first draft. And so I try to get the story down so I know what the story is. I used to think writing, and maybe people think this, writing is like choosing the right verb. That's very cool, but that's second level. I always say to myself, get it down, then get it good. Or the right drunk, edit sober. Edit sober means, I always think it's edit bitchy. Like just really, you got to just be ruthless and say to yourself, and for people who are thinking about writing, I'd really encourage them, because something like pacing or keeping the pace moving is something that you do by taking out stuff. And people are so smart now. You don't have to. I've written crime novels for 40 years. I used to have to explain a lot. Now you don't. Everybody knows what everything is. Everybody has a general sense of how police work. So you can move through it more quickly. Ultimately, I think the goal is just to write a book that is not boring and that really delivers a good story. And it's all in what you lose, I think.
I think that's so genius of you. The delete key is your best friend. Sometimes you have paragraph A, B, and C, and you take out B and put A and C together, and wow, that's exactly what you meant to write. And how did that...
And even if it's really good, sometimes, I think somebody said, I don't think it's the Elmore letter, maybe it was, I forget who it was, but he said something like, we don't need a weather report. And there's a little of the beginning of, it was a sunny day in Centerville. And you have to try to watch that too. If I'm really in love with a paragraph, I save it in my deleted awesomeness file because I'm so proud of myself. But someday it's there, but it does not belong in the book.
Right. Your brain thought of it at the wrong time.
Someday it will come in handy, but not anytime this millennium.
We have one more question for you, and then we'll go to our audience questions. But I want to go back to something that I said earlier, and I'm not sure how to say this, but Julia is not only a reassuring friend for Courtney and a loyal friend for Courtney, but somehow you, the author, without being there, comes through as a loyal friend to your readers, as an empowering person, as a source of advice and comfort and guidance. And there are things that Julia says and other people say that are reassuring, you are not alone kind of things. Does that come just from who Julia is, or who you are, or your love for your readers, or all of the above?
Oh, you're very kind. I probably all of the above, but I think what happens is if you don't write with an outline, what I've started to learn is that you're very much in the moment. You are actually kind of a little bit channeling that character. And I think also we've had so much hardship lately writ large that a lot of, this changes everything. I feel like this changes everything happens a lot. And it's happened a lot in my life. Getting divorced twice, losing my mother, or good things, the birth of my daughter, my first novel. And how you roll with those punches and develop that resilience when the chips are really, really down and you're calling on your friends to help you and they won't refuse. If you're really right there, you'll feel all that stuff. You really will feel it if you allow it to come out. And I just try to channel it and not get in its way and put down just enough that's not, don't overdo it. I resist the urge to overdo. But then I look at it later, I go, you didn't need that much. Take that out.
It's just so heartfelt. And sometimes it feels like there's nothing between the soul of the story and the words on the page that it just.
Oh, you're lovely. Well, I feel the same way about your novels. I think we both are very open-hearted writers. And while we love a good story that's a murder mystery, I think of that as the top-line plot. What really matters is, in this novel, they find out the murderer and there's still about there's a lot of pages to go because the story is not just about that. The story is about a character struggling with an issue that the murder brought to light and they still have to resolve. So I didn't really realize that till I was like, Lisa, what are you doing? But then I was like, well, the story's not done. And that's because the story's about more than the top layer.
And I love that. The story we're talking about is This Changes Everything by Lisa Scottoline, which is indeed the story of the investigation of a murder by two people who are quite affected by it. And they wind up finding several things that are completely different and completely life-changing. And I have to say, as I closed the book and read the last of it, and then we'll take questions from the audience, Ariel, as I closed the book and read the last of it, it's just so inspirational and so poignant, and you close the book and think, that was a good book in so many ways.
Oh, you've just made my week. Thank you for that. I really tried. I tried.
Is that how you feel when you finish too? Is that how you know that you're done, when you have a feeling?
I have to have a feeling that's a little bit like that. Like my heart is eased and my anxiety is lifted. And that must have been, you don't realize it till the very end. You go, oh, that's what it's weird, but you go, that's what this was about. And you actually work it through, like, it's almost like a mathematical proof, except I'm bad at math.
Oh, what?
But I think that's what it's like.
Yes, you're solving a problem that you don't even know what is, which is
exactly.
And then, I mean, there are times that I've said to Jonathan, my husband, I said, oh my golly, I've created a crime that I don't know how to solve. What am I going to do now?
And that's exactly right.
And then,
but you do it, Hank.
Well, some, are the goddess of whatever it is does it. I think all hail. So congratulations on this marvelous book. As I said, an instant USA Today bestseller. That is fantastic. Ariel, do we have questions from the
Thank you for your very kind words.
And our first question is from Sue Street. Hey, Sue, who has hydrangea. That's so nice. Who has been your most difficult character to write?
I think Julia was a hard character to write, as much as I liked her. She's the main character in this novel because she is fun and she's nice and she's a lot of good things, but she has had a hard childhood that didn't look like a hard childhood. So I have adoption issues in my family. She had to come to terms with being adopted in a family that wasn't as forthcoming about that, and so that she didn't really get the help she needed to deal with it. And so she has childhood stuff to deal with that she carries and is unsure how to deal with. And
she's faced a lot of grief as well.
And she's faced grief. She lost a husband to murder. So, and I've talked to victims of violent crime, and that's a very hard, that becomes part of who they are. And so there's loss in her life that's contemporary, palpable loss, and then there's childhood loss. But she is managing to put herself together and integrate and build a life from the ground up. So she wasn't easy to write, but I kind of admire her for that. And the adoptees I've talked to and victims of violent crime I've talked to help me understand how to make that happen.
Yes, this is a very compassionate book, very thoughtful, and also very respectful of how terrible it is when terrible crimes happen and when they are planned.
Right.
Who and the motivation, we always know why they did it. That sort of ugly, dark motivation of being that the world isn't fair and it's not, and that things aren't happening correctly, and it's your responsibility to make things right, even if that's a disaster. Who else has a question, Ariel? Susie Baldwin from Seattle. So nice to see you, Susie. Love the cover and title. Lisa, was this always the cover and always the title, or did they change? Great.
No, the cover was pretty great. We settled on this cover pretty early on. The title I fooled around with a little. I'm blanking on what the old title was. But I love this title because I thought, what is it? Just lately this year, you write a novel and you're in a place in time. I'm a lady in the Philly suburbs. I sit in a bookshelf and there's a dog right there. And so what is affecting you lately? It's more that there's so much change and so much resilience required that I thought, and I'm a person, by the way, who hasn't taken change well in my life. I always kind of say to myself, oh, I hate change. And I started to say, stop saying that. Like, change is growth and you have to grow. And so embrace it a little more. And you won't just be out your comfort level a little. So a little bit, it was me. I thought the title really, there's so many things in my life that changed everything. And then you realize change is constant. Changing everything is constant. So don't it's like trying to cover the sky with your hands. You can't do it.
It's also about point of view, also that something you might know might have you look at the world in a completely different way. It might change everything when you learn a new,
Right.
find
Oh
out.
my God, yes. That's so true. That's so true. I always think of that, the plot twist in life. Like you're like, wow, I didn't know that fact. Now that changes the way I look at everything before.
And you can feel it, like the wheel of your consciousness sort of spins, and you see it a different way. One more question, Ariel. Who else do we have today? Veronica, welcome. Haven't seen you for a while. So nice that you're back. Is there a piece of advice to anyone who is just starting out writing?
Yes. The great thing about someone my age is that we love giving advice. We never shut up. I'll keep it short. I would really advise you. My mother told me this, and it applies to writing, and it's be yourself. And then the other one is go for it, which is Nike. Because I do think there's an aspect of writing that's behavioral. You have to just sit down and do it. You don't have to go to a college. You don't have to go to a writing program. You don't have to do anything. It's good to read a lot. But the best thing to do is just sit down and try to do it and not worry about whether it's good or not. Just tell yourself the story. And apropos, be yourself is a little what we were talking about before. Hank teaches a million different classes on writing, and she'll probably agree with me that the difference between people who can get published or not is voice. Voice is the way you tell the story and the story you tell. And that is you. That's the part, it says in GARP, the you in you. There's the you in you that you have to let flower and open up, and then it will be in your voice and you'll be able to tell the story. I really want to encourage people just to not stand in your own way about it. I love this country so much, and what's great about it is the diversity of voice. The Constitution is encouraging freedom of expression because it's linked to the pursuit of happiness. And you make you happy, even if you journal or you tell the story of your family's life or you tell the story of your life or something that's completely out of your head. I volunteer in school a lot, and I see these kids write these things. Their imagination is great. So I really do want to be encouraging about it. My advice is just do it and be yourself.
And be patient while you're doing it. We're so used to instant everything, turning on the TV or putting on your social media and instantly there. Writing is very difficult, and it takes a long time, and you can't really hurry it. And if it makes you happy, be in that writing happiness. It's fine. It'll happen when it's going to happen. But not, as Lisa said, if you don't sit down and do it. Just do it. And that's I'll tell you, we get really good at procrastination. There was one day I thought,
oh my God,
I really need to alphabetize my spice rack. That is what I'm going to do. And then I thought, sit down, sister. You better do that.
What we do to avoid writing. And then I'll just get started. Oh, this is going to be terrible. Then it starts to go a little bit. Okay, not so bad. I shouldn't have been so scared.
Exactly. That is very wise advice. We are running out of time, and we want to give away a copy of Lisa Scottoline's This Changes Everything. As I said, not this one, because I'm keeping this one. Plus, it's all marked up, and the pages are all flapped down from things that I...
Well, you studied so hard for this interview. You're amazing, and thank you for it. I'm so honored.
It's just joy. So our fabulous producer Ariel in the back room is going to spin us a wheel of randomness and come up with the name of a winner, and that name will be, drum roll, drum roll, drum roll. If I could sing, I would hum, but there we go. Betty Fellows. That's so wonderful. Betty is a stalwart fan of Crime Time, and Lisa, I'm sure she is already a fan of yours, and we will send you
exciting.
Betty.
Congrats, Betty. Now you got to play the lottery.
Exactly. The rest of you, you know what to do. Run, 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 click, click, click. Get your very own copy of This Changes Everything. It will change everything for you, and in all the best ways. Lisa, thank you so much for being here.
Hank, I've loved this. You're just wonderful. And thank you for being so thoughtful and taking time from your insanely busy schedule to read this novel. You're too good.
Thank you. We are both spinning a lot of plates. I got to tell you that. But
you are a great girlfriend, and that's all there is to it.
It's one of those things where the only thing worse than having an overwhelming to-do list is having an empty to-do list. So we don't want that. We don't want that. Speaking of your to-do list, you all crime timers, let me say very quickly, next week, 2 special crime times. So write this down. on Monday, not Tuesday, but Monday at 3 p.m. ET. Look who's going to be here. Another Lisa Gardner, who fabulously new book. It's different from her other books. It's kind of gothic. Look at that. And it is about a couple and a dog and a ghost and an old house and all kinds of stuff. You adore Lisa Gardner anyway. We love anything.
Yes, she's terrific.
Isn't she really? She's
terrific.
Real deal. So she'll be here on Monday, not Tuesday, Monday at 3 p.m. ET. So be here for that. And then Tuesday, our regular time on Tuesday, 4 p.m. ET, I cannot wait to host Nina Simon, who wrote My Sister is Going to Kill Me. How many of us have said that? I got it. Nina Simon is absolutely a rock star. She's brilliant. She's the most physically fit person I've ever met in my entire life. She can plank for like half an hour. I mean,
oh my God. Wow.
I know, it's awesome. And she's also an extremely good and funny and thoughtful and witty writer. You know, she wrote Mother Daughter Murder Night last year, and this is her follow-up to that. This is going to be about a sister. So we'll talk to Nina at 4 p.m. ET on Tuesday. So Lisa at 3 p.m. on Monday, Nina at 4 p.m. on Tuesday. You got that. We'll put it on social so you remember. In the meantime, Lisa Scottoline, congratulations on everything.
Thank you very much, Hank.
And it has been such a joy to have you here and to have you all here, Crime Timers. We'll see you now. Don't even move, because at 4 p.m., which is in about however many minutes that is, but I can't do math, but not very long, we will have the fabulous Carol Goodman to be here to talk about Our Marriage is Murder, about a husband and wife writing couple a husband and wife who write crime fiction, who go to a mystery convention at a castle in Italy. What could go wrong with Carol Goodman's, I know, signature research and wit and humor? It's hilarious. It's meta. It's satirical. It's so funny. And it's a good mystery to boot. So in about 15 minutes, be back right here with Carol Goodman and Our Marriage is Murder. And we will see you then. Until then, remember, it is always safe inside a book. And we will see you next time.